been times where I've done virtual therapy with Kingston and he like literally is like, bye, and he clicks it and turns it off.
Yeah, like 5 or 10 minutes into the session, we're like, you're done?
So speaking of chasing the standard, let's talk about the Broncos real quick, obviously.
Good segue.
The Chargers fan base is really, really cool, really, really welcoming, mostly, especially if you're at SoFi.
The preparation for...
Where's my Jayhawk question at, man? Yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah, he wants
coming right here.
Oh, if they take one message from this book, I would say not to compare yourself with others.
All right, Corey, the Broncos, give it to us.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, I think the strength is the depth now. We've built in some depth. This is going to be a very, very, very interesting positional battle as we head into training camp. There's going to be an odd man out. It's just trying to figure out which one of those guys it's going to be. Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin seem to be the hot topic right now, which would leave Waddle, Sutton, Pat Bryant. So then you're going to add one of those guys. And a lot of people are saying that, you keep Marvin Mims this season and roll with all of them. So I love the depth. And if you guys remember actually after the season, I said I love the receiver room. That was before we acquired Jaylen Waddle. But obviously you can't be second in the league and drop passes with, I believe, 43 and expect to win games. And luckily we were able to win 14 of them. But that crucial drops, absolutely just back-breaking drops, and that's why we led the NFL in punts. So again, you got to be able to cut that number in half. You got a new receiver coach, so Sean Payton obviously knew that needed to be an area that was that needed corrected. And then you go out and you make the move for a guy like Jaylen Waddle, who I think is going to be it for the Broncos. I think that was the missing piece to open up this offense a little bit more. It's going to help those other receivers. You're going to have Courtland Sutton on the outside. I still go back to Jaylen Waddle is going to be all over the field, backfield, slot, outside. I mean, he's going to be everywhere. Obviously, the biggest improvement is the drops. Those were crucial. I mean, it's 3rd down and 5, 3rd and 6, and you get open. Courtland Sutton had no issues getting open. Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, those guys had no issues getting open. It's just the drops. Ethan posted was it in our group chat or in a video of the drops, and Evan Ingram and Courtland Sutton were both that. I think it was a top 10, right? Or was it a top 15?
No, it was because I was responding to people saying Evan Ingram doesn't have a drop problem, and so I just went and looked it up.
Yeah, so you had Courtland Sutton and Evan Ingram both on that list with 9 and 8, I think is what it was.
They were both in the top 10.
So there you have it. That's 17 of your 43 drops right there. So, and again, it wasn't just the receivers. The tight ends had a big issue with it as well, and we'll talk about that group next week. But I think my biggest thing with this group is I do think there's 2 receivers that are capable of getting 1,000 yards in this offense if it's ran correctly. I think Jaylen Waddle can be a 1,000-yard receiver. Courtland Sutton obviously was the only 1,000-yard receiver in the West last season, and take away those drops and he would have had a little bit more than that. So I do think two receivers. I think I'll go ahead and say it. I think the hot take would be I think Jaylen Waddle and Courtland Sutton both have over 1,000 yards receiving this season. And I think this takes the group to the next level.
All right, let's go over to talking about who has the best room out of the AFC West. So, Ethan, I'll give it to you. What AFC West team has the best wide receiver room?
I think it's Denver. I think Denver has the most high-end talent, and they probably have the most rounded room.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of think it's a situation where we talked about last week, where it's like I think Denver has the best room, but I think the Chargers, depending on how some of these young players end up performing, like production-wise, I think they could be just as good. But I think from a skill perspective, a stars perspective, I think Denver is by far the best.
All right. Austin?
Yeah, I think it's Denver, and I don't think there's a close second in the division at all.
I'll say I think it's also Denver, and a lot of it, too, is last season, or at least before the Waddle trade, I thought Denver had a solid wide receiver room, and having an extra year just made that better with Bo Nix kind of improving also. But you add Waddle, who now is like the number 1 receiver in the AFC West. This room's hard to beat. I would say, though, and again, to Ethan's point about depending on how the Chargers offense is, I think the Chargers receiving room is a very interesting room, very similar to the running back room. It's like boom or bust in the circumstances. And I would not be surprised if like the Chargers and Broncos wide receiver room are like neck and neck throughout the season. But in my opinion, over the top Broncos right now. And then Corey, wrap up the segment.
Yeah. And again, I do think it's Denver. Now, I won't say there's not a close second. But I also do want to say sneaky. Chargers are obviously next after the Broncos, but the Chiefs receivers are a little dangerous if they click and if they get it figured out with and you got a new coach. So I wouldn't look past these Chiefs receivers as well.
I put a note in here that said, if the Chiefs do sign Tyreek Hill, I think that makes their receiving room a little bit more interesting because like teams might respect Tyreek Hill, that it opens up for other players to be effective. And I think Andy Reid is a smart enough offensive head coach to make that happen. That's why I thought if Tyreek Hill came back to the Chiefs, it might be a very interesting dynamic to the offense.
I don't think it makes him the best receiver room, though.
Not best, just interesting.
Maybe 3 years ago, maybe, but
sure.
Tyreek now, we just don't know with that injury.
I think the only thing that can really take the Chiefs into even talking about being in the tier with the Broncos, well, I guess if we're all throwing Chargers in there, is that Tyquan Thornton's actually used. I mean, he had almost 500 yards on just 19 catches last year. So I think he would be that dynamic piece. I'm not saying Tyreek-like numbers, but he put up like 430-something or 40-something yards on 19 catches. If he actually gets a larger target share, converts kind of the same rate, and brings that added dynamic back, like when you actually had to worry about Tyreek, I think that's what would make it kind of interesting. But Tyreek would help the Chiefs, but I don't think it moves the needle as far as overall room at all. I mean, at that point, it bumps people down somewhere, which would again add depth. But Tyreek would help, but it wouldn't change receiver room positioning.
Yeah.